Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. We have a wild B&B theory about what Daphne Rose is truly hiding in Paris, and it will change Carter Walton's life forever. Daphne continues running to Paris without explaining why. We have a notion about what she is hiding, and Carter Walton's life will never be the same. Daphne Rose says family is not in the cards, but what if she already has Carter Walton's baby? Daphne Rose keeps running away from Carter, throwing cryptic hints about family not being in the cards. But what if she isn't talking about her future? What if she is hiding her past? What if Daphne already has Carter's child in Paris, which is why she is unable to accept his proposal on Bold and the Beautiful? Daphne Rose's comment was too specific to ignore. Carter simply dropped down on one knee with a ring and expressed his desire to start a family. And what did Daphne Rose say just before that? She acknowledged she'd always wanted children, but then dropped the bombshell. It's not in the cards for me. And then? She refused to explain. Bold and the Beautiful authors don't toss out lines like that for no reason. Daphne Rose did not state she doesn't want children. She did not declare she wasn't ready. She claimed it's not in the cards, as if the choice had already been made. It's as if something has already happened to eliminate that future possibility. What if it was a baby she previously had? Carter's baby? The timeline works perfectly. Let us ponder about this. Before Hope showed here, Daphne and Carter had a whole thing going on. They were involved. They had chemistry. Then Carter selected Hope, and Daphne returned to Paris. What if Daphne discovered she was pregnant just around the time Carter chose Hope? What if she discovered that the man she was falling for had chosen another woman, and she was carrying his child? Daphne Rose is proud. Daphne Rose is an independent person. Daphne Rose does not beg for scraps from men who prefer other women over her. So, how would Daphne Rose handle that situation? She would return to Paris. She'd have the baby alone. She'd raise that child without ever informing Carter that he's the father. Years later, she's back in Los Angeles, and Carter is proposing marriage and expressing a desire to become a father. And Daphne is freaking out because the secret she's been concealing is about to blow up her entire life. That's why she has to return to Paris. Daphne keeps pressing on returning to Paris. Her family is present. Her life is there. She cannot stay in Los Angeles, no matter how much Carter begs. What if family does not include her parents or siblings? What if family includes her child? Carter's child? Is there a child in Paris waiting for their mother to return? Daphne cannot stay in LA because she has a child to nurture. She can't accept Carter's proposal because it would need her to explain why she has been hiding his child for years. She can't begin a new life with him because their previous life generated a secret she has never revealed. Every time Carter brings her closer, Daphne must push him away. It's not because she doesn't love him, but because loving him requires telling him the truth. The truth would destroy everything. She could not tell him then. Put yourself in Daphne's shoes for a moment. You are pregnant with a man's child. That man has chosen another woman. He has publicly committed to Hope Logan, one of the most recognized ladies in the fashion world. Will you tell him? Do you disrupt his new connection by saying, "Surprise, you're going to be a father"? Do you put your child into a chaotic situation in which daddy lives in Los Angeles with his chosen lady, and you are in Paris feeling second best? Or do you protect yourself and your baby? Do you go home, raise your child peacefully and without drama? Do you provide your child steadiness rather than chaos? Daphne chose silence. She selected Paris. She chose to allow Carter to have his life while discreetly creating her own. It was not about vengeance or punishment. It was about self-preservation and shielding her child from a difficult situation. She can't tell him just now. But this is where things get extremely nasty. Daphne made that decision years ago. The baby is no longer a baby. It's a child with a life, a routine, most likely a school and friends, and an entire existence that excludes Carter Walton. How do you inform a man that he has a child he has never met? How can you explain that you kept this hidden for years while he dated other women, proposed to others, and expressed a desire to be a father someday? Hey Carter, do you remember when you chose Hope over me? Well, I was pregnant but never informed you, and now you had a child in Paris. Surprise! That conversation is impossible. The longer Daphne waits, the worse things get. The secret, which began as a means of self-protection, has evolved into a bomb capable of destroying everything if revealed. Carter's proposal makes everything worse. Carter is now on one knee, holding a ring, talking about how much he wants to be a father. He tells Daphne she is the only woman he wants to have children with. He's giving her everything she ever desired from him. Years too late. Daphne is unable to say yes because doing so would entail creating a life based on lies. She cannot tell him the truth since it will make him detest her. She can't stay in Los Angeles since her child is in Paris, waiting for her. She can't continue running because Carter won't let her go. She is trapped. And the only way out is a confession that will destroy both of their lives. This baby is coming to LA. Mark our words. If this theory is right, the secret child will ultimately show up in Los Angeles. Perhaps Daphne finally confesses. Perhaps the child comes looking for their father. Maybe someone in Paris spills the beans. Whatever happens, Carter Walton will discover he has been a father all along. And the repercussions will be spectacular. Carter, the man who has spent years looking for love and family, only to discover he already has both and had no idea? The man who proposed to woman after woman as his own child grew up across the ocean? That's the kind of gut-punch epiphany that transforms a character forever. Daphne Rose should start practicing her explanation now. She is going to need it. So this is the real reason Daphne wants to return to Paris right away, bold and the beautiful. Daphne always had a giggle that could split a large room in two. She used it like a shield, quick, bright, and disarming. But this morning there was no laughter. There was a suitcase on the couch and 2 flight confirmations on her phone, blinking like little alarms. "You're not actually leaving tonight," Zend repeated for the 5th time, because asking was all he could do. He perched on the coffee table wide-eyed, looking for the punch line. "Is this referring to the Paris show? They postponed it, Daphne. You don't have to go." Daphne closed the closet and turned, the door closing like punctuation. "It's not the show," she remarked flatly. "And please, Zend, don't make this so dramatic. I do not have time." "You're breathing like you ran 3 miles, Zend countered. "Talk to me." She glanced at him, at the man who'd been a constant in her life through deadlines and fittings and that first dreadful Vogue shoot, and for a fleeting moment the Daphne he loved returned, warm, caustic, and sarcastic. She shook it off. "I promised someone I would help," she explained. "And I always keep my promises." Zend felt the room move. Promises were common money in their culture, and they were generally accompanied by strings. Who made that promise? She didn't respond. Instead, she took the little leather journal from the table, which she kept for sketches and emergency notes, and opened it to a page with an ink-smudged corner. "It's better if you don't know," she said, and it was the most sincere lie either of them would tell that day. The message. 3 days before, Daphne was meant to close the Forrester sustainable line. Fabric swam in her mind, linen that sung to the touch, weaves that reflected the light like the Seine at nightfall. She was contemplating her final stitches when a message arrived that unraveled her life. An audio message in French, broken yet urgent. A name she had not heard in 15 years. "Daphne? It's Claire. Please. It's about Mammon." Her breath had gone the way it always did when childhood echoed through adult armor. Fast, shocked, and raw. Claire, an old acquaintance from the Paris atelier where Daphne had apprenticed as a teen, had been like family. They'd swapped coffee, cigarettes, and late-night modifications. And Mammon, Daphne's mother, was a term she hadn't used in a long time. She hasn't called back since leaving Paris with a suitcase and a promise to find herself last year. Claire's message had been cut short due to panic. "She's in danger," the caller stated in broken English. "There are males in the boutique. They searched for something. They said there was a document. A formula. They said they would take it. You must come." Daphne initially suspected petty stealing. Paris has its criminals, whereas Forrester has its counterfeiters. But there was one factor that turned the taxi trip into a sprint. The name associated with the search. Marseille Holdings. Daphne had seen a Shell business footnote before on Eric Forrester's old contingency papers, tucked into margins at the museum galleries he'd once funded. A breadcrumb that read like industrial theft in a language she thought she'd forgotten. She called Zend and did not explain. She called Claire to demand proof. She dialed one more number, an address from an old notebook, an atelier that smelled of cedar and bitter coffee, and then with shaky hands, purchased the first flight that night. The forgetting and the found. In the ride to the airport, Daphne let the city blur out the window. She wasn't rushing to a show. She was sprinting toward a history that she had tried to erase with an eraser. Her thoughts drifted back to a Paris of ragged clothes and desperate stitches. She was 19 years old, hungry and gifted, folding under a lamp while a woman named Mireille taught her the secret of a weave, a technique for dyeing silk so that the color never bled and knitting a sheen into fiber. It was more technique than magic, yet in that atelier it seemed like a prize. Mireille had been compassionate and fierce, more than just a teacher. She was the woman who used to hold Daphne's hand at night and call her ma fille. When things got dangerous, when someone from Marseille's holding showed up and offered money for the secret, Mireille buried the ledger, which contained formulas, coded notations, and a little roll of textile samples. She encouraged Daphne to leave Paris. The city has its own ghosts, and some should be left in the dark. Daphne had bolted. She boarded an aircraft with a suitcase and a pocket full of humiliation, eventually rebuilding her life in Los Angeles, where borders were broad and memories could be changed. She believed she'd let it go, but someone had discovered the ledger. Someone who still wanted possession of something that might set an entire industry on fire. The Lumiere weave, a textile process that would save water and time while making Forrester's sustainable line unrivaled. If it came into the wrong hands, it could be weaponized, locking patents, burying little ateliers that couldn't afford legal expenses, or selling it to the highest bidder in profit-driven marketplaces. That ledger was why the men from Claire's boutique had come. The ledger was the reason Daphne had to go. The storm. She came in Paris beneath a thunderous sky in polite French. Claire met her at the airport, older and agitated, clutching a little tote like contraband. Daphne, Claire answered. They were here last night. They asked queries. They inquired about Mireille's ledger. They claimed Marseille's holding wanted it for a project. They said, Claire's voice cracked. They said they had people in L.A. Daphne's stomach sank. This was not an isolated theft. It was a campaign. You shouldn't have come alone, Claire replied, and her words were not reproachful. They were factual. I couldn't, Daphne began. She imagined Zen waiting at home, and the world in which she was creating a life free of her past. She felt both guilty and brave at once. We have to get to her boutique. They drove in the anxious, close silence of those who understand how easy it is to make matters worse. The store was smaller than Daphne remembered, tiny and illuminated by sunlight that revealed dust on surfaces and little tangles of cloth that tell stories. There was a police presence, 2 cops perfunctory with cups of cold coffee. Mireille sat at the window, wearing a sweater that had seen better winters. She appeared aged yet alive, a little flame in the darkness. When she spotted Daphne, she reached for her hand like a buoy. You left, she replied, not accusingly, but with an exhalation. I had to, Daphne muttered. They were looking for you. Mireille's eyes darkened. They found the ledger's map, she stated. This is not the ledger, but a map. A cipher. Someone larger than Marseille's holding has asked for it. Daphne's heart pounded so hard that it felt like it was about to stop. Is it larger than Marseille's holding? Mireille nodded slowly. There's a man American. Very clean fingers. He approached me years ago. He desired the technique. I refused. I'm sorry for leaving the map in the wrong drawer. What man? Daphne demanded. Mireille placed her hand on Daphne's knee. You know him, she stated. He is responsible for the atelier closures in the South. He identifies himself as a patron. He proclaims himself a savior. But he isn't. He disguises danger as investment. Her tone softened. Daphne, he's from that city where you work now. Daphne inhaled breath so quickly that she began to cough. The world clicked. Forrester, patents, and the gradual corporate strangling. Someone influential in Los Angeles sought Mireille's method. If that person had the ledger, they could patent the weave, exile little ateliers, and reintroduce the secret to the world, hidden behind attorneys. She thought about Forrester Couture. Then of the sustainable line she'd championed, the passion project she'd put on hold because someone with money decided the bottom line was more important than craftsmanship. She reflected on how contracts punish talent. Her hands clenched around Mireille's, and her nails bit the skin. This is why I have to go back now, she informed Zen during the final phone call she made from a phone booth. He listened in quiet before responding in the only manner he could. Bring evidence. Bring Mireille. If at all possible, avoid going alone. Daphne laughed sharply, expressing equal parts bravery and dread. I'm already alone, she explained. But I won't be here long. I promise. The plan. By midnight, the plan was modest and perfect as it had to be. Claire had a safe deposit box in Marseille, while Mireille had a friend, a former courier who understood the ancient trains. They would reposition the map. They'd guard it. They would rather burn the ledger than allow it to be trademarked and weaponized. Daphne slept on a pallet in the store that night, hearing each siren as if it were a drum. She closed her eyes and saw the man in the American suits, a face she'd sketched in a notepad in Paris, with a clean jaw and a smile that always felt off. She wrote his name in the margins before ripping it out. In the morning she boarded the train. The city faded away, taking with it a life she thought was over. She felt the weight of her commitment to Mireille, save our craft or let us die trying, and it sat in her like a hot coal. When she eventually got on the phone to tell Zend why she needed to leave, about the ledger, Mireille, and the map, his quiet was long enough to allow terror to take over. Okay, he finally replied. Come home with me. Come home safely. She closed her eyes and said softly, I will.